Hello class, so we are up to weekly update 11. Thank you for filling out the survey. That was really helpful information. So a few summaries from that. Uh, some folks noticed the assignments like, yes, please pay attention. If it ever says AM, something is due, that's an error. Shoot me an email, I'll change it. And if you happen to put something in and it said you were late, even though it was like 1 in the afternoon and not supposed to be due till 11:59, it does not deduct on that. Apologize for that. Thanks for finding those errors. It was interesting to see in your surveys how many of you are enjoying the class and having fun, so I'm glad for that. It was my goal. But it was also interesting the combination of you get frustrated, but then it's fun. And so that's what I think is something kind of cool about math, the challenge of it, and then you eventually figure it out and get it. A couple of you talked about that sort of feeling at the beginning of the challenge problem, and then the progress that you make when you get to the end. There are, though, maybe not even a handful of folks out of y'all that I do worry about. You seem like you're getting behind, and I want you to reach out to me, reach out to Chloe, reach out to your classmates. A couple of you aren't taking advantage of some of these, the CSL, that's another great tool. But use the discussion boards, meet some classmates. There were plenty of folks that said they would want to do more studying together on a regular basis. Do things that are going to help you prepare for that final, which is another interesting comment on the final exam questions. There were a couple in the survey about that. And, maybe about it's 50-50 on the class. Some of you feel like I got this. Some of you said I got it, but I'm like any exam, I'm going to be a little bit nervous. And of course that's natural. But there are things I'm going to do on my end, and I'm hoping then you will do some things on your end. So you already have several things already that can help you study for the final. You've got your practice midterm, and Lainey, thank you for making the answer key to that. So check it out. Just take a look at those problems. It's a good time now. If you have a light week, just print them out and take a look. You also have every week now samples and examples from your classmates that are excellent work. If there was a section, if you go back and say, oh, in chapter 3 of book 3, I didn't remember things about directional derivatives or gradients or something. Go back and go through those activities and pull out. There's some really good explanations from your classmates. There's some good videos. Jenna usually shoots a video. Check those out. That'll help you study. And then in your journals, you also have at the end of every chapter a study guide that I've created, review questions, concept review, calculation review, answers are there, key vocabulary you need. So those are things to start disciplining yourself as we're getting closer to the final. I also will have a, just like for the midterm, sort of a practice, the types of questions that you're going to see on the final exam. I've already started overloaded myself with creating journal pages. So you guys, your questions have been super helpful to see, to assess myself, to see places where, okay, if I'm getting a lot of questions about directional derivatives, I must not have done a good job explaining that. So I've tried to do a better job, and I've created some new journal pages. There will be a new module, maybe up in the next week or two. After module 7, our last module, there'll be a final review module, and I'll start putting things like these new journal pages that I'm creating, a practice final, and links back to the midterm and the samples and examples. And then lastly, some of you are saying, well, it's a lot of content, and that's true. I mean, you guys are doing amazing what you have done. And think about it, like most calculus textbooks, like this thick, on average, they're like 1,500 pages of material. And at this point, you're almost done. You almost know everything in that 1,500 pages. So you should really, really be proud of yourself for that. That's an accomplishment. And we're not quite there, but I really do expect, lots of folks are getting A's and B's. And that's my goal, is that everyone in this class, if you guys can really buckle down. Again, there's some few folks that we want to help out. Go back and be a good citizen in the class and offer, if anybody shoots your text or an email about studying, do that so we can all meet that goal of A's and B's. So in worrying about studying for the final exam, though, one thing that I purposely did in designing these journals was many of the activities are meant to sort of emblazon something in your memory. They're personalized, or they're physical, they're construction, deconstruction, and there's good science behind that it does help you remember things. So I have a feeling when you sit down to study and go over the practice midterm, the practice final, go over the study guides, all these things, you're gonna be like, oh, I got this. This is no problem. It's not a matter of memorizing, but I also encourage you to start making study guides, sharing them with your classmates, with your group, collaborative, make something of what vocabulary you need, any formulas, But again, hopefully you'll see that it's less about memorizing because it's already like ingrained in you. So I think, I guess the summary there is, don't worry, y'all are going to do great. I'm sure of it. Just keep going, putting in the effort that you are at this point. Let's see. Next thing, that just letting you know that Oaks Analytics, like it's almost like a, you get so much information about the class, who's watching videos for how long, you're finishing it, you know, number of minutes, the discussion boards, how long you're spending. And so that's going to be helpful for me to factor into your grade too, if I'm going to bump someone up, if you're at a borderline of a plus minus or something, that I can see how much effort you guys are putting in. Reviewing something from last week I forgot to mention, I think, was during the discussion board, you watched a video by Conrad Wolfram, who's the brother of Stephen Wolfram. And anyway, they're both creators, mostly Stephen, of Wolfram Alpha, the tool that we've used a good bit this semester. I just wanted to mention that it's also always a good idea to do some critical thinking about, you know, why is this person, what are their motivations behind their message? And everyone has biases, and it's important to know that of all your instructors. Like you've gotten a good glimpse into my biases as an instructor, things that I think matter, emphasize or de-emphasize. And so think about that with Conrad Wolfram, right? I mean, they have clearly a vested interest in promoting computer-based mathematics. It doesn't take away from the message and the idea, but just it's important to know that and think about that with all of your instructors. Let's see. Some of you during the survey mentioned, you know, again, this is a crazy semester. That's another reason why I'm so excited about how well you guys are doing, how much work you're putting in and understanding. So it does make COVID, though, makes an opportunity for self-awareness. And I think some of you saw that from reading your survey answers. Some of you are seeing that you're learning about yourself and how the things you have to do to be successful and make yourself successful. And you might have to trick yourself if that's like, you know, being more disciplined than you might normal because we're not in a face-to-face class, working with a classmate, whatever it is. But I also think it's important, that self-awareness, to say, you know, am I doing what I should be doing, using this time to think about what you're doing with your life in this class, in this major, in this college, and do that evaluation. Because I think some of you, if you're feeling frustrated and just having a really hard time motivating yourself, is that just this crazy environment, this crazy semester? Or, you know, maybe there are choices that you just felt forced into. So use this as an opportunity. I think anything that puts you in an opportunity for self-awareness is a gift, and take advantage of that. Okay, so then some shout outs, samples and examples. So I'll share the screen and show you some of my favorites that I dumped into your Oaks section. Let's see. So I put these in, what do we just finish? Module 5, week 2. Module 5, samples and examples, week 2. So some of my favorites here, and thank you guys, thank your classmates. So go over these. If you had trouble with doing planes or doing lines, check out Kyra's, Lil Boss, Peyton, Haley, Christian, Rian a couple times, Ellie, Joe T, a couple of his assignments, Brianna P, and Grace G. So excellent job on those assignments. If you've struggled with those, go back and take a look at these folks. And then I want to talk about your challenge problems. So let's see, a couple of my favorites. So there's even mix, I think, on who chose which groups chose which problems. So this is the collision of the planes. And I really liked Eddie, Kyra, Michael, and Cameron's, but I think the one I want to show is group 8, which is Joe, Filippo, and Brianna within. In this one, I think it's very clear what's happening. It's kind of slow here. Okay, so challenge, what was that? Challenge 5, yes. Yes. So in their final report, again, these guys are great showing captions and the figures, and I think everybody concluded, again, knowing the difference between intersecting and skew. Just because you're non-intersecting, you might be skew instead of parallel. But this one, these figures here, I really like. They kind of showed the picture. They showed a side view, and maybe do they intersect, and then they showed from the top. This is showing the closest point. they found the red point and the blue point were the ones where these two planes were closest, and then they compared the safe clearance distance. Most folks got this around 0.878, several groups, and one was kind of close with a 0.9. Yeah, so excellent work again from that team. And then for the parallelogram, several groups that did that one as well. I really liked Lane, Sam, and Jenna's, and Lainey, Brianna, and Lee's. And let's just pick one of those. This is Lainey, Brianna with an I, and Lee. Both groups, I believe, did, both of those groups, several groups also, did many level ups on this challenge. And yeah, kind of showing us by hand their work, but also visually with the tech tool, where these points would be to look for the hidden treasure following the parallelogram rule. And then yeah, they did the centroid, and then the parallel pipette. Oh yeah, then showed this with Mathematica. It's now a 3D figure, a skinny parallel pipette. Okay, so excellent work once again there. And oh, one last thing. I really wanted in chapter 1, I think it would fit of book 3.5. I just didn't have time. But remember the show Dexter, where he did blood spatter, I think is instead of spatter, where they'd put these red strings showing where the projected, so if we see all these dots on the wall that are blood spatter, we could work back and make vectors. And so just didn't have time, but if any of you want to do that and help me work out what would be an interesting challenge problem associated with that, it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun to work together and collaboratively come up with another challenge for that part of the chapter. Okay, last thing, have a great time this week. I think you're gonna enjoy chapter 2, get some really interesting ones, and the challenge problems are super fun. So have a good time.